But if there are folks out there that are messing with these satellites and messing with this GPS, they're going to do an investigation of this. And I'm guaranteeing they're going to, if they find out what I think they're going to find out, they're going to bury it. Or they're going to come out with some bullshit story about what happened here. As a continuation from yesterday's video, I thought we would start there. Now, that was this channel on the 18th of June, 2017. We actually put this video out right about the same time that Admiral O'Coin was standing before reporters cooking up this narrative. And of course, as we have now seen over the last 8 months, the Navy has cooked up a bullshit story to cover what really happened that night. And as an aside to the Mr. Super Secret Intelligence Spy guy, yesterday Zach, that's supposedly been vetted by Corsi and all these other hacks, why don't you guys watch this video and tell me why Mr. Super Secret Spy guy hasn't been able to figure out what I'm going to show you today in this video. Now, we're going to, in Admiral O'Coin's press conference, go over it with a fine-tooth comb. And I will show you why this was a story. I'm going to get these to the right places. Just bear with me here 1 second. Okay, here we go.
Approximately 0220 in the morning, 17 June, 10 miles off the coast of Honshu, Japan.
Okay, that's the first time that he... I'm sorry I have this sped up to 2x. I was reading through it for content. So don't take any issue with the man speaking fast there. That was me doing that. But I went you there to show that in the initial statement they said it happened at 0220. This was the day after. Okay? The Admiral, in charge of the 7th Fleet, the commander, was either entirely misinformed, ignorant, or attempting to construct a narrative. Now, we are going to jump to the 14-minute mark. 14:02, actually. And thank you, everyone, for your patience.
Ships on the south with the other ship on the south side supposed to be quite. That's commenced on that. And secondly, will you be giving the Japanese investigation access to do it still? Yeah, you know, I'm not going to speculate on what happened. You know, it will be a full and thorough investigation. But for me to say what happened at 2:20 in the morning yesterday, unknown. So we're going to appoint a flag officer. We're going to cooperate with all the stakeholders in this, especially the Japanese. But we'll get those answers. I don't have them right now.
Okay. There at 14:02, not only does he restate the 0220 time, he also then makes the commitment that he's going to cooperate the U.S. Navy. Speaking on behalf of, cooperate with all the stakeholders. That would mean the Filipinos. That would mean the Japanese. That would mean everybody. But as we clearly now see that that was not the case, they dropped the hammer, only issued summaries of the interviews with the sailors to the Japanese and the Filipinos, and did not allow anybody aboard the Fitzgerald at all, other than the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Coast Guard. Now, jumping to 1640. In the same video.
I'm going to do a JAGMAN investigation. That's a Judge Advocate General manual investigation and appoint a flag officer. There's at least 2 other investigations. And of course, we want to cooperate with the Japanese if they want to do an investigation. We will work hand in hand with our Japanese partners. You might not know the Japanese Coast Guard to. Yes, we will cooperate fully.
Okay, and like I said, I have this sped up just because I wanted to get through it. Point being there, cooperate fully. Once again, clearly, either entirely unaware of what's going on, or something came out after this that made them drop the clamp on it. Now, the last stop that we are going to make in this video is the 24-minute and 10-second mark.
So it was at 2:20 in the morning. We do have watch teams that are awake throughout the night, but a significant part of the crew was sleeping. And as I said before, 2 compartments that house 116 of the crew are in those compartments. And it was a significant impact to the side of the ship. And you can't see most of the damage. The damage is mostly underneath the waterline, and it's a large gash near the keel of the ship. And so the water flow was tremendous. And so there wasn't a lot of time in those spaces that were open to the sea. And as you can see now, the ship is still listing. And so they had to fight the ship to keep it above the surface. So it was traumatic. As to how much warning they had, I don't know. That's going to be found out during the investigation. But it was a significant impact that the crew had to fight very hard to keep the ship afloat.
And on the mechanics of the crash itself, side T1 pulls the health efforts to avoid it.
I don't know those kind of things, but it was a significant impact to the side of the ship. In order to get a puncture like that, I'll just leave that they were hit on the side by the tanker.
He almost, and you see the guy putting his hand on him right there? Okay, he almost slipped. In order to get a puncture like that, you would need, and then, well, I'll just leave it there. So close. He almost caused a problem. Now, we have said from the beginning, and we are going to continue to reiterate every chance we can, that we are here for the sailors. We are here to illustrate and demonstrate how heinous what the Navy has done. It is beyond almost words. The lies, the obfuscation, the cover-up, the sliming of the crews, calling them the unmotivated, poorly trained, even all the way up to Michael Savage trying to lay it on the last administration, politicizing it. It was disgusting to see. And here is this father. Now, I'm going to play something for you that you would think Mr. Super Secret Intelligence Guy Zach from Florida, because he's Super Secret Intelligence Guy, would have been able to pick up. Listen to this.
He was working at initially he was enrolled in high school. The National Security Agency invited him to be in an internship. Did his, in 11th grade, did a year, then they brought him on full time. I guess around 6 months later, he just came to me and said, Dad, actually he joined the Navy. I didn't even know. He told me he actually joined.
Really? National Security Agency. In 11th grade. Guy has 2 years with the National Security Agency before joining the Navy. And in case anybody takes issue with that, I've actually brought up the transcript. Now, this is my video. And that is exactly what he said. And this is my video. The National Security Agency invited him to be an internship in 11th grade. So, 2 years, high school, 11th grade, 12th grade. Joins the Navy. And the Navy has identified him as Personnel Specialist, First Class Xavier Alec Martin, 24, from Halethorpe, Maryland. Personnel Specialist. Really? 2 years with the National Security Agency, and they hire him as a paper pusher and a file clerk? Yeah, tell me another one. And just in case anybody wants to know, here is the Navy's description of Personnel Specialist. Merger of personnelman and dispersing clerk, clerical administration duties, preparing reports. I mean, it's pretty much what you would expect. But let's take a look at what the National Security Agency does. The National Security Agency is a national-level intelligence agency of the United States Department of Defense under the authority of the Director of National Intelligence. The NSA is responsible for global monitoring, collection, and processing of information and data for foreign intelligence and counterintelligence purposes, specializing in a discipline known as SIGINT. That's actually what my better half was. I was HUMINT, I was an interrogator. She was SIGINT, she was a 98 Golf crypto analyst. The NSA is also tasked with the protection of U.S. communication networks and information systems. The NSA is also tasked with the protection of U.S. communications networks and information systems. You mean maybe, like submarine cables? I wonder who mentioned that. Huh. All open source intelligence. I didn't hack into any backdoor Pentagon super secret places to try to find this information. It was right in the CNN interview. And yeah, knew about it a while ago. I just figured I didn't want to draw this kid out and make him the focus specifically and put him on blast out of respect for the father. But now that disgusting, slimy, fake news InfoWars has decided to come out and pretend that there's some kind of inside source agency to intelligence with Mr. Anonymous Zach from Florida, who has clearly just basically glossed over half a dozen of my videos and now makes himself out to be an expert on this. Talking about a fleet. We sent a fleet of destroyers over to the Pacific. No, we didn't. We didn't send a fleet of destroyers. There were destroyers over there attached to the 7th Fleet that were stationed there on normal operations when all this issue happened. Go back and listen to Mr. Super Secret Zach guy. I mean, obviously, I'm just some guy on YouTube, right? I don't know anything about intelligence operations or anything like that. He's the real deal because he's, of course, been vetted by Jerome Corsi. Because, of course, if they say so, it must be true. He starts yammering on about EMP mines. We talked about it. Once we established the Navy was lying, and here we show yet another lie. Navy says, personnel specialist. Does anybody out there really believe the National Security Agency recruits somebody in 11th grade, he spends 2 years training the guy, and then all of a sudden he joins the Navy and he becomes a personnel specialist? Huh. Wow. That's the difference between bullshit liars and actual intelligence, because this is how actual intelligence is done. It's boring. It takes a lot of research. 9 times out of 10, you go down roads that don't mean anything. But the one thing you never do is say, I wish I could reveal to you what I know, but because of security reasons, I can't. Bullshit. That's watching too many fucking movies. And if they want to make believe about the deep state or make believe about reptilians or Illuminati or New World Order, that's fine. That's entertainment. But when you come after the sailors in our armed forces, especially ones that have given their lives in the service of this country, and you attempt to play this into some kind of a game, you're opening up a can of worms you cannot close. Because the Florida Maquis is plural. It's not just me. I'm the spokesperson. So I think this has been a good place to illustrate how an actual intelligence asset works versus somebody who just wants their 5 seconds of fame on InfoWars. And thank you to Jennifer Hammonds. She caught a bunch of flack yesterday for standing up and calling this guy the little piece of crap that he is. Because she, of course, has blasphemed the high holy prophet of the administrator, AJ from InfoWars, and is a super secret intelligence guy that hasn't been able to uncover the very basic things about this without coming to my channel and half-assed plagiarizing it. Anyway, sorry for the rant there. But fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters are without their loved ones. And the Navy's lying. They don't need to sell the farm, so to speak, on the secrets, but to go out and try to construct a narrative, and in that narrative, slime and besmirch and destroy the reputations of sailors all across the 7th Fleet, and then now try to have the temerity to put 2 of them up on trial and try to put them in prison for negligent homicide. Really, even though the case of the McCain, from the time and this is from their report, The steering casualty was noticed to the time of the collision was less than 5 minutes, and the bridge crew had 4 different people working on it and actually fixed it, just not in time, in less than 5 minutes. And in the case of the McCain, not 3 months prior, they were describing them as rock stars, the best in the fleet, and absolute heroes and masters of their domain, performed as expected, above and beyond, sacrificing for their shipmates. Yet now in the same breath they want to say, well, they're not motivated and they're poorly trained and they're fatigued and they don't know what they're doing, even though they just got off of Liberty 24 hours prior. And these are basic inconsistencies that you can read for yourself as a layperson in the report. And just use common damn sense. You don't need to be some super secret spy person who has access to information I can't tell you about. I mean, this pisses me off. It just really pisses me off because these young sailors, they work so hard, they sacrifice so much, they get underpaid and overworked, and that's been the paradigm in the military for a long time. And of course, there's been the paradigm of guys like AJ too, who've decided that their personal aggrandizement supersedes the honor and integrity of our servicemen. Well, that sure as hell ain't gonna stand here. So, thank you to everyone who has actually supported the channel in an honorable and decent way. A lot of former sailors, a lot of former servicemen have been here, and they're just as pissed off as I am. So, like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much. We're going to continue. Have a great day.